Hello, hello. My name is Stephanie. Welcome to my YouTube channel where we talk about all things books and book adjacent. So in today's reading vlog, I am going to be reading 3 new release thrillers, which is super, super exciting. We have truly been blessed this month with lots of new releases. We're starting off super strong with Only If You're Lucky by Stacy Willingham. Stacy Willingham is an auto-buy thriller author for me now. She has 2 other books out, A Flicker in the Dark, which was a 4-star book for me, and All the Dangerous Things, which was a 5-star book for me. Needless to say, my hopes for Only If You're Lucky are extremely, extremely high. All I know about this book is that I believe it takes place on a college campus, and I think that the main character is unhealthily obsessed with her best friend, and things start to spiral out of control. I don't really want to know more. Stacy Willingham's books are so good. I love that every chapter is a cliffhanger, but the writing is still great. That is one thing for me with thrillers. I find that often the writing is a little bit lacking. Stacy Willingham's writing is on point, and her thrillers are still super engaging and easy to read. So I'm going to get started on this one, and I will let you know my thoughts and a little more about what the book is about. Okay, it's the next day and I have made it through 150-ish pages of Only If You're Lucky. The book is pretty good so far. I wouldn't have picked it based on the subject matter if I didn't love Stacy Willingham so much. It takes place on a college campus. I was right about that. It's following this girl who randomly kind of met these other girls, and she was lonely, and her friend died in her senior year right before she left for college. So she decided to move in with these random girls that she doesn't know. And then her house is like connected to a fraternity house. And I think the house is actually owned by the fraternity. And we're going between past and present timeline. In the present timeline, we know that someone has died and someone is missing, and we don't know how it transpired and how everyone is involved. Past timeline is 9 months before that and right when she moved in. So we're spanning like the time of when she moved in to when all of that stuff happened. The main character has quite literally been drunk or high for the entire 150 pages that I've read. Like, it takes unreliable narrator to a whole new level. Stacy Willingham always does the unreliable narrator in All the Dangerous Things. I remember the female main character wasn't sleeping, and in A Flicker in the Dark, she was also doing drugs. This chick has been throwing them back and tossing them up, like, seriously. So I don't trust a single thing that she's saying. It's in first person, so it's a very like hazy type of storytelling. It's fine. It's not blowing me out of the water, but it's pretty good. I don't know why I was talking like that. Stacy Willingham's writing holds up. Really good writing. It's doing the thing where every chapter ends kind of on a little bit of a cliffhanger, so you want to keep reading, which I love, but it's not hooking me in the sense of like I need to sit down and binge this book. And that's how I felt about All the Dangerous Things. This is more along the lines of Flicker in the Dark, where like it's good, but I'm not obsessing. That's where I'm at with that. I am going to continue this one, read a little bit more. Anything crazy and wild happens, I will check back before I finish, but if not, I will probably check back after I finish the book. I needed to come back with 2 quick thoughts. I am on page 200 now, so I'm just like very slightly over halfway through the book. First thought, this book reminds me so much of that show Cruel Summer on HBO. There's 2 like they're not interconnected, they're standalone. They give like a really similar vibe. This book is in the same category as that show. It's giving such a like similar vibe, it's crazy. Second, I'm slightly over halfway done. I'm on page 200, and I realized that this book has not had a single twist yet. Like, there has been no twist at all. I'm getting like, can we pick it up a little bit? I'm thinking back to the other 2 Stacy Willingham books that I've read, and I don't think that either of those had a big twist before like 75%. Actually, now that I think about it. All the Dangerous Things did. It's good because the writing is good and the concept of the plot is good, but it's not the most riveting reading experience. Not to make comparisons. Well, I will make the comparison of All the Dangerous Things. Like that one, I did not want to stop reading it. It kept getting better and better. Every chapter landed on a huge cliffhanger. With this book, most of the chapters do end on like a slight cliffhanger, which I said earlier, but not the way that All the Dangerous Things did. Also, the main character is annoying a little bit and still not sober. She was handed a pill and she just took it, chucked it back. She goes, I didn't even think to ask what that was. Okay. It's the next day. I finished Only If You're Lucky. I didn't like this book. I'm super disappointed because I love Stacy Willingham, like I've said 1,010 times in this video, but this book did not hit for me. So here's the thing. The writing was good. It was a well-written book. And because of that, that is why I continued to read it. Also, I say that, but like I will never DNF a thriller, even if I don't like it, because I'm just curious. Like I need to know what happens. But the fact that it was well-written is what saved this book, because for me, the plot was so boring. I kept like thinking that it was going to pick up, and that's always the trap that I fall into, is like, okay, just like the beginning is boring, but like it'll pick up. And then I'm like, okay, I just made it halfway. This is really gonna be when it starts to get good. And if I'm still feeling like this book is so boring when there's only 100 pages left, that is when I know that I have a problem. And that is what happened with this book. I was literally on like page 320 out of 380. And I was like, is anything gonna happen? I was like, okay, this reveal better be amazing. No, the twists that there were very underwhelming. I was certain, because there weren't a lot of twists throughout the book, that the ending was going to be a huge, shocking, jaw-dropping reveal, and it simply just wasn't. The other issue was I just never ended up liking the main character. It wasn't even one of those where it's like, yes, the character is insufferable and that's why you're interested in the book. She just kind of sucked and I didn't like reading about her. I ended up rating this book 3 stars on Goodreads, but I think it's actually more of a 2.75. I really do. I could not believe how uneventful the plot ended up being. Moving on, the next book that I'm going to read is No One Can Know by Kate Alice Marshall. Now, this is going to be interesting because Only If You're Lucky was the one that I thought that I was going to absolutely love. And this one I am going into with very, very mixed expectations, because I read What Lies in the Woods last year by Kate Alice Marshall, and I thought it was very much just okay. And it did that thing in thrillers that is my biggest pet peeve in thrillers, which is adding a subplot of romance. Unless it's a domestic drama, they're already married and the relationship element is a part of the thriller-esque plot. I don't want to read about a romance in a thriller. I especially don't want to read like someone falling in love with a cop. Like, I just don't care. It totally takes away from the thrilling aspect to me, and I never want it to happen. That happened in What Lies in the Woods, and that is what totally effed it up for me, because the rest of the concept was really, really good and really, really interesting. No One Can Know seems to be about a couple who moves back to the wife's hometown because she needs to take care of her parents' house that she inherited or something like that. And the husband doesn't really, the wife has been pretty mysterious like throughout their marriage. And I think that the husband doesn't know that her parents were actually killed and that she is actually a suspect. I think because this is a already married couple, and because this is more of, it seems like, a domestic thriller, I don't think that thing that I was talking about earlier is going to happen. I am super excited to get into this book, and I'm hoping that because I didn't love the book that I thought I was going to love, maybe I am going to love this book that I didn't think that I was going to love. So after yesterday and this new Stacy Willingham book, I'm going into everything with an open mind, because just because you liked an author's books does not mean you are going to like every book that they put out. And just because I didn't love What Lies in the Woods doesn't mean I'm not going to love No One Can Know. So with that being said, I am going to get started reading, and I will give you an update as soon as I have one. Hi. Okay, I fear that there's been a change of plans, but actually don't fear, because the change of plans is fine. It's fine. We're gonna roll with it. We're gonna make it work. Last night, I ended up starting the third book that I'm gonna read for this video, First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. This one is about a woman who is given different identities and aliases, and she has to go and infiltrate different lives as her job, basically as a spy for a very much like an under the table illegal type of operation. And she doesn't even always know why she's going on these jobs. She just has to, and this is what she does. She never is like the same person for all that long. She's assumed the identity of Evie Porter, and her task is to have a relationship with this guy, Ryan. All she knows is that he's involved in some type of like shady business dealing, and she has to get close to him and get to know him. And she's starting to kind of get attached to this life in a way that she really can't, because she has to do these jobs, be in and out, and disappear. We're getting the present timeline of her as Evie, and then we're also flashing back to different aliases that she's had and getting chapters and snippets of different jobs and different lives that she's had that I'm guessing will all kind of like come together and be important. I'm really, really liking this book. I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I started reading this book, and I straight up binged the first 200 pages of this. It wasn't super eventful, but the writing is really, really good, and it's really, really quick. Definitely more of a mystery, but it's one that it's easy to get invested in, and to where like you want to know what's going to happen. And I really, really like our main character. And even though it's not the most action-packed book, I'm still reading it super quickly, and I'm still very, very curious as to what's going to go down. It gives a spy vibe. Like, this is more of a spy book. That's not my usual thing, but it's good. And I've heard that the last 25% of this book is insane, and right now I'm at 60%. So very excited to see how things are going to go down and come together. I actually just got off Goodreads, and one of the people who I follow had just given this book 5 stars. I'm going to sit down and straight up finish this book in one more sitting, and then I will come back and give you my final thoughts on this, and then I'm going to get started on No One Can Know by Kate Ellis Marshall. All right, I am back, and I have quite a bit to update on. First off, I finished First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston. I ended up really, really, really enjoying this book. The final rating that I've landed on is 4.25 stars. This is a badass female spy thriller. This was a really fast-paced, fun read. Wonderful female main character. Very interesting and engaging story. Highly, highly recommend. And then I also ended up finishing No One Can Know by Kate Ellis Marshall, and this was a happy surprise for me. Like I was saying, I was a little bit unsure about how I was going to feel about this one. I actually ended up really, really enjoying this book. It is a little bit confusing because you're following the 3 sisters as narrators, and each also have a past and present timeline. So overall, you're keeping track of 6 point of views, which does get a little bit confusing at times, but the story took a direction that I was not expecting. There were a lot of red herrings in the book that felt like plot holes at first, but then kind of by the end you realize that they were specifically meant to throw you off and not parts of the plot that really fully needed to be explored. It also is a lot of back and forth at the end. You think this is the ending, then you think this is the ending. Wait, what really happened? But I found it to be really engaging. The writing was great. It did not do the things that I was saying that I don't like in thrillers. I wasn't stopping a lot while I was reading. It really kept my attention. So I think that maybe if you weren't a fan of Kate Alice Marshall's first adult thriller release, I would try this one because for me, it ended up being a lot better of a read. So to wrap it all up, my final ratings, only if you're lucky, I'm landing on a 2.5 stars for this one. First Lie Wins, I am ending off on a 4.25 star, and No One Can Know, I'm ending on a 4 out of 5 stars. All in all, I had a really good time reading all of these thrillers. I do definitely recommend First Lie Wins and No One Can Know. So that is it for me reading new release thrillers. These all are January releases, and I'm really, really glad that I got a chance to read them and share my thoughts. I hope that you found this helpful or enjoyable, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching.